Hello and welcome to another How to Code Well web chat. My name is Peter Fisher, and in today's web chat, I would like to talk about Flash, not the superhero Flash, Flash Adobe, the Flash plugin, the extension that you can get for your browser that will allow you to give or display or interact with rich media and so forth. Now, as I hope you're aware, Flash has reduced in usage over the years, and this is partly due to all of the security issues that Flash has suffered, all the vulnerabilities and so forth of Flash, as well as the hardware issues with the graphics and the APIs and so forth, as well as the new technologies that are now on the block, so HTML5 and other things like that are starting to replace Flash in those types of domains. Now, due to all of this, of course, there are some browsers that have dropped support for Flash over the recent years. Notoriously, Safari and Chrome and Mozilla. Another one has recently thrown their hat in the ring. And if you followed me on Twitter, then you perhaps may have seen a tweet that I recently posted of Microsoft. Microsoft have recently announced that they are also dropping support of Flash. Now they're doing it in a slightly gentle way. They are actually phasing support for Flash out, and I couldn't actually find a reference to when they are actually going to stop supporting Flash, but they're phasing it out. So they're actually now going to finally put a notice up to say that the website requires Flash for the content, and then that notice will have a confirmation that the user will have to click either yes or no whether they want to allow Flash to be displayed on the page, which is something that so many other browsers have been doing. So many open source browsers have been doing for such a long time because they've recognized that this is such an issue. So and now you've got browsers such as Safari that just don't bother supporting Flash, it's that brutal, it's that black and white. So in my opinion, I do think that this is pretty kiddie gloves. It's very hand holding, and I'm not sure whether it's justified because there is a drastic decline in the usage of Flash or websites using Flash. Well, I guess it all depends on where you read. Now, I have been trying to get some statistics, and perhaps some of these aren't as kosher as perhaps they should be. But a website such as W3Techs, which is a web technology survey, so it's a survey, okay, they suggest that 7.4% of 7.4% of all websites still use Flash. So that's less than 10%. That's more than 5%. In my opinion, that's pretty small beans, right? But on the flip side of that, if and I'll leave the links to these places in the description down below. A website nerogadget.net, an article that they wrote on September the 4th, 2016, titled "Major Websites that still use Flash Player and Why." They've actually listed 27 websites that still use Flash. These websites are actually quite big. So things on here like Hulu, CNN, Huffington Post, Fox News, The Guardian, Salesforce, and all of that kind of stuff, Cisco, HP. So these are content-heavy sites, right? Starbucks is on here too. These are content-heavy sites, and a lot of these are news sites. So, like, Huffington Post, CNN, New York Times, Fox News, and The Guardian. They're all news sites. I'm actually quite surprised that these sites still use Flash or still support Flash. It would have been nice if less of these content-heavy sites were on this list. But I suppose that just shows that this technology, even though it's really insecure, we still need to support it. But I would like to see the day that Flash gets removed from the web come even closer. I was a little bit disappointed about this Microsoft announcement. I would have preferred it if they were a little bit more harder on when they're actually going to drop support, as well as perhaps just, having less kiddie gloves on, right? And I know that the other browsers have done so, but they did so ages ago. They realized that this was an issue ages ago, and they did something about it. Now Microsoft is doing it. I'm glad they're doing it, but perhaps it's been a long time coming. So I'm happy that it's happening, and I'm happy that there will become a time when HTML5 and other technologies will use Flash. And I like the feeling that other web developers, other people that are yet to be web developers, will be developing sites without the knowledge of Flash because they don't need to. That happened before their time. That's nice. Now for me, I've had a mixed experience with Flash. I actually learnt Flash at university many years ago. I really enjoyed it at the time, and in fact I had the whole Macromedia suite, so Fireworks and Flash and Dreamweaver. And I found one of my modules at university was to design a game that was interactive, and you would use the keyboard on your laptop or desktop to control the game. I actually found a magazine at the time that I forget what the magazine was called, but it was all about Flash and so forth, and graphics and programming. At the time, the magazine at the time had sort of a tutorial, a step-by-step guide on how to create a lovely looking console game in Flash, and how to control the game interactively. So we had I created this sort of Game Boy looking console with arrow keys and perhaps the A and B button, and you would press those, and then I had Actionscript behind each one of those things that depress the button and raise the button and so forth when you clicked it, when you pressed it, and did an interactive thing on the screen. And I really enjoyed that. That was really good, and that was perhaps one of my first introductions maybe to object-oriented programming, because I was doing AS3 and 2. Although saying that, at that time I was learning PHP and Java 2, so perhaps they had more of an influence. But I guess sitting here now talking about Flash in a nostalgic kind of way, it feels a bit weird, because you're talking about technology that I know I'll never use again, or I know I can see the end of it. I can see that in the future Flash will just won't exist on the web, and that's a good thing. But the fact that I've learned that technology is weird. The fact that I know that I'll never need to use that, there is a point where that will never happen, is odd. But it's a good feeling, because as well, in one hand it's sad, and then on another hand it's good, because it just shows progression. This is what we have to take away from this thing. With technology, in the technology world, there are times where certain technologies will come and go. They'll rise and they'll fall, and that's good because it shows progression. What we need to, as web developers, need to be aware of where we sit behind or in front of the curve, or on the curve. Are you holding up you scaffolding? You holding up this technology? Are you part of that 7.4%, or are you part of the people who are trying to push away from the technology? Now, I must admit that I have sites that I've got that or clients that I've had that require Flash, and that's just a requirement. And so you do feel bad that you are allowing this technology through, and it's also quite a painful process, because it's maintenance overhead. You are still holding up, you're scaffolding, pulling up the allowing the old technology, the legacy technology through. But in some cases you have to do that. But the point I want to make, though, is that in your web development career, there may be times, or there will be times, where you work on a technology, say in 1 year, and then 5 years down the line, that technology, or 10 years down the line, that technology is no longer in use. The question you have to ask yourself is, at which point do you jump ship, and at which point, and where are you? if you are still supporting Flash actively, and you're not asking the question, or you're not telling your client the risks and the reasons why Flash is bad, then you are, in my opinion, part of the problem, and you're not actually helping. You're not actually helping the move, and you're not helping the web as a whole get better. So there you go. I'll be interested to know what you guys think. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if there's any, if you are actively working on Flash, if you have to work on Flash, if you find that Flash is the only thing that can work for your technical needs, I'll be interested to hear what your opinions are, and whether you think that HTML5 will replace what you need to do, whether you're dreading the demise of Flash or not. Do let me know. Put them in the comment section below. Like the video if you've enjoyed it, or if you find it useful. Do subscribe to get the next web chat. I try and do one every Friday, as well as tutorials. So I've got a whole series that I'm doing at the moment on Docker. If you're a DevOps guy, or if you're a web developer and you're learning Docker, then do check them out. You might find them useful. And as always, follow me on Twitter, PFWD. That's my Twitter handle. Thanks again for watching. I will see you next week. Cheers. Bye.